Hello, everybody. And to find a cure for type 1 diabetes that is reversible, so it is no longer a life sentence. All right, in this video, we're going to talk about hopefully that doesn't bother us too much. But in this video, I'm going to talk about a little bit of the placebo effect and an iteration on that I'm working on. I kind of discovered this morning. I think it's going to work really well. In addition to my regular daily experiments that we're going to go over. Okay, this is a daily log. It's real nerdy. We're going to get into some stats and experiments and talk about something new that I learned today with the placebo effect. Okay, so let's get into things. I do realize that yesterday I totally forgot to share my screen, and I apologize for that. Today, we will not forget. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen at this point. Cool. So today's the 14th. The first thing we're gonna do is color code this to keep me on track. It throws me off sometimes if I don't do it. All right, we're gonna finish out yesterday and start off today. Today though, 10, feeling good. Yesterday, I felt really good all day. Ooh, I love seeing those numbers, dude. Even if, like, cause it was yesterday, so I've already slept and all that, so it's kind of somewhat removed. Seeing those numbers makes me feel good about my routine. All right, and yesterday we did eat all approved sources. Everything was right in line. We had bone marrow and broth. Today's weights is 140. We didn't take a nap. We did our red glasses at night. And we were asleep before 9. And I cut it close. It was like 9:27, you know. And I could have done one more thing, you know, and did a little more gratitude, a little more affirmations, but I stopped myself there. Now, I did sleep for 8 hours. My quality of sleep was a little weird because I woke up at a number of times throughout the night, I think at least 3 different times. And my brain just gets going, you know, about work and this and that. And so it wasn't like an anxiety, worryful, stressful thing where I was waking up. It was just ideas, you know. And so what I've done is I've put a notepad by my nightstand. And so I just write those ideas down. So there's at least 3 different times in the night where I woke up, which is unusual. Usually it's 0 or 1. So there's a lot of activity last night. So I don't know quality of sleep. I mean, I definitely wasn't sleeping the whole night through. Outside of those moments, though, I slept really good. So I think I'm going to put it at a 7. I don't know how to really mark that. So I definitely woke up a few times. Today I woke up without an alarm. 5:15. Did my stretches yesterday. Killer. Loving it. Makes me feel so good. I can touch I really notice the difference with my hamstrings. Oh man, I can touch my toes almost easily now in just like probably 5 weeks. Man, it's really cool. Hydration, crushed that because I'm fasting pretty much, so can't eat. I'm not giving myself a lunch. I did like a 10-minute maybe, so I'm not giving myself the full credit there. I did get 5. I didn't watch the sunset. I guess I'm not giving myself sunset, but I did get grounding outside. And I did sunrise this morning. I'll get these out of the way too. All right, and I'm gonna circle back up to the placebo effect here in a second. I'm gonna get through my list here. No supplements, no coffee or tea or caffeine. Stress level was I'm a little unsure how to do this because there's definitely a good stress that I'm having of getting a significant amount of work done. I have timelines and stuff I need to hit, deadlines, and but it's still from a sense of peace still. So I'm not worryful or anxious about it. There is something, I guess there's a little bit of anxiety to hit the goal, right? Hit the timeline. So I'll probably give it like a 2, maybe a 3. Um, Zero depression, no multivitamins. Oh, I did my silver in the evening too. No diffuser, no illness, no deep fatigue. Feeling really, 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 really good. Okay, today's numbers are numbers, bro. Bro, where are my numbers? Did I not log them? I swear I logged them. That's so funny. Well, I guess I do remember them. Let's see. It was 77 glucose and 5.6 on the ketones. Still not showing it. Something wrong with the app. 6. So still in a really good range there. That's awesome. No insulin. No medications. No injuries. No BMs. I didn't do any evenings. And do the Beamer in the evenings. Okay. I'm not going to talk about Beamer today because I'm going to keep this concise and just talk about the placebo breakthrough that I had. Okay. And I don't know if it's breakthrough, might be too strong of a word. But let's talk about the placebo stuff. So what's interesting about placebos in general, right? All scientific studies have to take the placebo effect into account. You have to use the sugar pill in your studies because there's this thing where 30% of the people will just cure themselves with the sugar pill, right? And that's not a that's a very significant number. 30%. It's 1 out of 3 people don't need real medication to cure themselves, which is crazy. And so, a while back, I was like, why not give myself a 30% chance at curing diabetes in addition to all this other stuff that I'm doing, right? So I am taking these affirmations and things very seriously, and I'm doing a lot of mental work on that, mental and spiritual and emotional work on it, and the result is at a minimum I feel good. It makes me feel generally more happy and fulfilled. So if it doesn't cure me of any medical issue, it's still a net positive. But yeah, 30%. I mean, why wouldn't you give yourself a chance at a 30%? I mean, if you got 30% returns on investment, like that's a crazy good deal, like on the stock market, right? If you got 30%, if anything, it's still really good, right? In terms of conversion rates or whatever, I don't know, however you want to measure it. So if you're going up against something that's never been cured before, or very, 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 very rarely, you want to give yourself every chance you can. So that's what I'm doing, the placebo effect. And so basically, there's some neuroscience behind it. where you can, there's stories and programs like Joe Dispenza. So Joe Dispenza has an interesting story. He was in some kind of like really serious accident. I don't know if it was a car accident or what, but really serious accident. And he was in major spine damage. All right, so he wasn't supposed to walk again in his life, and he basically healed himself with his mind. Crazy as that sounds. Okay, now it's a big claim, right? He has a lot of stuff behind it. He's a doctor, so he studied a lot of it, and he knows what he's talking about. He really studied the neuroscience behind it. And he basically says, you have your body, including your brain, the brain part of your body, like the organ, not the mind and the intellect part, but the physical meat, right? It's just your body, right? It's just an organism that listens to commands. Your mind can make commands, right? So your mind can trigger emotions in your body, and the emotions can trigger how your body responds. And so I think there might be one extra step, and I might be butchering his whole process, and I apologize. But basically, there's a way of, through your thoughts, the concept is through your thoughts, you can control how your body reacts. And because of that, you can control the perception of the world and that you have. And with that as a tool, you can retrain your brain to think certain ways. And so one of the ways you can think of is that you're healthy, or I am strong, my spine is strong, my spine is strong. And I don't know, I'm not quoting him, but it's something to that effect, right? So you can, and the more you think it, right, the more repetitions that you get to go through it, the more your brain's neural pathways are going to go down that route to say you have a strong brain versus I have a strong spine versus I have a broken spine, right? So at first, you're like, oh man, I have a broken spine. It hurts when I do this. It all makes sense. Everything aligns with me having a broken spine. So you have a default pathway, thought pathway in your brain, neuro pathway. And then over time, after repetition of thinking this other new way that is essentially just your imagination, your brain's going to say, this is the new default pathway. I now have a strong spine. And then your body's going to react. And there's some magic pieces in there too. Okay, how does your spine actually get healed and all of that? And I'm not going to get into that in this video because I think I need to educate myself a little bit more on that before I talk about it. But for me, it's a little bit still of a black box where you can, these are the strategies and tactics you can take that enable the end result. And I haven't connected that last piece of the dot. So I'll actually make a whole video on that. So anyway, the best ways to strengthen those new neural pathways that you want to convince yourself of this new reality that you want to live in, where you are healthy, is you want to visualize it, because a picture says 1,000 words, right? So our brain interprets visualization, visuals, images a lot more powerfully than just words. Okay, so you want to visualize it, and maybe use words that you say to yourself that are strong visually, right? They're very descriptive words of something visual. That's the first part that you want to do. And this is not just coming from Joe Dispenza. This is coming from a number of different people that I've looked into. And they all say these two things: you want to visualize it and you want to emotionalize it. So you don't just want the image of it, you want to feel the feeling of that image, right? And that image is of you being healthy and doing things that you would when you're fully healthy. And so the feelings that you get from that, because if you think about it, going back to the thoughts controlling your feelings, controlling your reactions in your body, your brain doesn't, your meat brain, right, doesn't really know the difference between the two. So you're essentially programming a new reality in there. And the more senses you can bring into that new reality, and the more emotion you can pull into it, the more your body's going to remember it. So think about your favorite memories or your worst memories, right? They all have a very strong emotional component to it. Okay. So you want to bring in strong emotions. You want to be very vividly visual, and then you want to do repetitions and repetitions and repetitions because you need to convince yourself that this new thing is true. So anyway, I've been doing that for a little bit now, a few months. Well, probably more than a year, but in different degrees. So more than a year, kind of writing things down, reading it out loud, um, and visualizing it, feeling it. But I've been getting better, I think more sophisticated as I go forward. So this morning I had kind of a little breakthrough. This is my point. Sorry for dragging this on. This is my point is I really dug into the emotion part of it and tried to prep my emotional response before I really dug into the meat of the affirmation. And so it kind of, I don't know how to describe it very well, but basically, like, the feeling you get in your heart when you're just, um, you have an emotional reaction, like a loving emotional reaction, or just some positive emotional reaction. And you just feel it in your heart. And maybe your heart just gets a little bit stronger, and there's an you can almost sense a physiological change in your chest, you know. And so I tried to feel that, and then, naturally, I took a deeper breath through my nose, and I really got dug into that feeling. And then I did my affirmation, and oh man, it was so much more impactful, so much more impactful. I mean, the emphasis that I spoke with in my inner voice, because I'm doing this in bed, first thing when I wake up, so I don't want to wake up my wife. It's just so impactful, so much more emotion behind every word, every syllable, And I even added more language to it and a couple more images to it, to the story that I told myself about it. And it was just so much more powerful and felt so much more real. And part of that was prepping my body to get into that fully heartfelt, emotional, positively emotional place, like as I brought that thought into my head to really sink it in from an emotional standpoint. And so that was my breakthrough on the placebo effect this morning. Um, one morning in 5 reps, that's what I did, is not really enough to see the results. Okay. So I'm not saying this is going to be the end all be all, but it definitely felt different. It felt like another level of doing it for me. And it's definitely something I'm going to continue to test here. So that's my placebo breakthrough that I've been having. It's more of an iteration on the actions I'm taking within my placebo experiment. And we will see soon when all these results come in and I'm fully healed. We'll have some data points. I'm tracking when I do these, so we will know if that helped. And that's the end of the daily log. I have to wrap it up. If you guys want to learn more about my journey of reversing type 1 diabetes and how I'm finding a cure, you don't want to miss it out, I would suggest you subscribe right now so that you don't miss out on the new things that I'm doing. I do a series of these daily logs like you're seeing today. I'm also going to add in deep dives into experiments, medical journals, and other things that I'm learning along the way, sharing those learnings with you as I learn them. So subscribe now if you want, if you don't want to miss out. And if you have any questions or comments, got to stay on time for things. That's my alarm. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments below. I set aside time at least once a week to check all comments and respond to everybody. So we are in this together. I'm not doing this by myself. If you have feedback, tips, questions, um, let me know so we can work together towards finding this cure and making sure it's a repeatable cure that everyone can do, that it's affordable, and all that other good stuff. So, really, type 1 diabetes is no longer a life sentence. All right, we're in this together, guys. I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday. And just for science reasons, I didn't mention the date. Today is Wednesday, October 14th, 2000.